Okay, 2H6, hello. So this lesson will be continuing from the previous lesson, which was about the political contest for merger. So recall we did watch this video that talked about why the PAP wanted merger, and then we dived a little bit into Lim Chin Siong, who is this supposed communist, and Lee Kuan Yew, who is the founder of the PAP in 1955. And we said that this picture, right, shows the two men standing together, winning an election. So we answer the inference by answering to the focus. What does this picture tell you about Lim Chin Siong's relationship with Lee Kuan Yew in 1955? And we start the inference. This picture tells me that Lim Chin Siong had a good working relationship with Lee Kuan Yew in 1955, right? This is because the two men had worked together in the PAP to contest and win seats at the 1955 general elections. This is evident on the picture, which shows the two men standing together happily after having won the seats in the election. So this is a typical simple inference question. Right. This is the inference, this is the explanation, and this is the evidence. So we know in 1955 that Lee Kuan Yew and Lim Chin Siong were partners. Maybe not buddies, but they were partners. They were partners in the PAP, the party they founded in 1954. They were partners in using this PAP as a vehicle to win independence for Singapore. And we said that while Lim Chin Siong had the appeal to the Chinese-speaking workers and students, Lee Kuan Yew, the returned lawyer from Cambridge, had the English and intelligence to work with the British. And we talked about the Barisan, right? The Barisan was founded by Lim Chin Siong and Fong Swee Suan, the two alleged communists who had left the PAP they founded. And we concluded the lesson by talking about the PAP and the Barisan's campaigns about merger. The PAP wanted merger. So make sure you write down in your notes, the PAP wanted merger. The Barisan, and this is the reason that the Barisan split from the PAP, the Barisan did not want merger. There are some political reasons as to why the Barisan does not want merger, and we can talk about that in detail in lesson. Suffice to say that these are the two competing positions, and how did the two parties convince the people to support them? This is the homework that I assigned you as of today, Tuesday, 27th of July. So I'm going to go through now. And sorry to H6, actually I wanted to do this in class. I can't because Monday, the time we are supposed to have our makeup lesson at 2:15, on Monday I've been scheduled to do oral exam duty. So I can't take you for the makeup lesson. So I have to do this through this video. So the Prime Minister gave a series of, I hope you have done this on your own, and this should just be a checking of your answers. The Prime Minister gave a series of radio talks. And these radio talks were called the Battle for Merger. And the PAP also held exhibitions. And exhibitions are sort of displays where people walk around, take a look, and sort of learn something. In this case, the PAP wanted the people to learn what? to learn how good it is to be part of Malaysia, to learn what they would gain from merging with Malaya. Why would the PAP put up this exhibition? Because when the people learn about all the benefits of a common market, learn about everything Malaya can offer to them, then they would support the PAP in wanting merger, which will allow the PAP to move ahead with merger. Can you see that these are strategies, tactics, approaches, methods, tools by which the PAP used to convince the people to get merger? Now, on the other hand, there's Barisan. It's led by Lee and Lim. No, it's not. This is wrong. It's led by Fong and... Oh, it is led by Lee and Lim. Sorry, this is Lee Siu Cho. And this is Lim Chin Siong. Sorry, I keep getting confused with all the Lees. So Lee Siu Cho and Lim Chin Siong, and they are the Barisan leaders. And they said Malaya would not automatically grant Singapore the common market. They say, don't blindly rush into this marriage when you don't know your partner that well. Don't blindly rush into Malaya when you don't know the Tongku that well. It's very interesting because we know who wins this battle for merger. The battle is won by the PAP because they hold the referendum, right? They hold the referendum. 71% support the PAP, 25% cast blank votes. So we know the PAP wins this battle for merger. But in the end, which vision wins out for Singapore? Think about it. In the end, by 1965, surprisingly, it is the Barisan's vision that wins. Even though the Barisan don't win the political battle, it is their vision of a Singapore by itself that wins the day. That is separation. We'll get there. The other thing on this page I wanted you to take note is the referendum. So if you go to your textbook and read carefully the referendum, actually I'll just show you. Where are we? Where's referendum? Here. Okay. So there are three options. There's option A, option B, option C. So usually in a vote, you get choices, right? That's the point of voting. You vote for what you want, and then people figure out what everyone wants, and then we act on that vote. A referendum is usually a single question. Let me note it down. So a referendum is a single question put to all voters so that the government can make a decision. I suggest you write this down in your notes as well. Okay. So in this case, the merger referendum. Let me make this bigger. The merger referendum, right? Asking what people in Singapore want. So government can decide. PAP government can decide. And if I were to ask you, like, what should a merger referendum look like? You would think, okay, this part you don't copy. You would think it would be something like, the options would be yes referendum and no referendum. But yes merger and no merger. Right? You would think that the options would be yes to merger and no to merger. So you would think the options would be something like this. Option A would be yes to merger. Option B would be no to merger. For those of you who have read the textbook, you know this is not what happened. What happened in 1962? The options are, it's hilarious. Option A is yes to merger with these terms, right? Option B is yes to merger with these other terms. Option C is yes to merger with some other terms, like, the same terms as Sabah and Sarawak. I think this one. I think B is something like fully joined Malaysia, and A is like Singapore gets a special deal. So this like yes to merger is Singapore deal, and yes to merger is like full on Malaysia, and yes to merger is like Sabah plus Sarawak terms. The point is that A, B, C are all yes to merger. There's no way for someone to say no to merger. And that's why the Barisan's campaign is about telling people to cast blank votes. Blank vote meaning you throw in your vote, but you don't put an X. You just throw the vote in and it's blank. And the point is that you are registering a protest. And so when the results come out and 71% say yes to merger on the Singapore deal, Lee Kuan Yew thinks it's won. Lee Kuan Yew says, look, 71% backed the one we wanted, option A. 25% backed the blank vote, which is what Barisan asked for. And so the people want merger. That's what Lee Kuan Yew says. There is another explanation that typically is not found in the history textbook, and that is people in 1962 are not very literate. Okay? So, just saying, people in 1962 are not all literate. That is, not all of them can read and write. When you give them a piece of paper and ask them to vote, the logical thing is you choose 1, 2, or 3. You choose one of them, right? And the even more logical thing is you just choose the first thing and you just vote. So part of this could really just be the fact that option A was the first default easy to choose option that people just voted for and didn't really think twice about. We don't think too much about that. The fact of the matter is that option A has 71% and the PAP will say this means that people want merger on the Singapore terms. So let's go back. Because of this, the PAP went ahead, merged with Malaya. And the question to us is, how will we ever know how many people objected to merger? The answer is we can't know because none of the options, neither A nor B nor C, ever explicitly said no to merger. All three were yes, yes, or yes. Think about that. So this one, prior to the merger, right? So this Internal Security Council arrested 100 left-wing leaders. Guess who they arrest? Of course, it's our best friends Lim Chin Siong and Fong Swee Suan. These two Chinese high friends, classmates are always getting in trouble together. Now they get to jail together. And this is called Operation Coastal. And the important thing is that it removes the people who don't like merger. So you remove the people who don't like merger. Who's left? The people who are left is everyone who wants merger. So it's merger. And then in 1963, PAP won how many seats? Some big number. I can't remember. Go check your textbook and fill in this blank. And the Lee Kuan Yew's PAP gained full control. And why is this important? It's important because we were talking about how in 1961, Lee Kuan Yew's PAP was on edge. We didn't know if it would survive, right? And the fact of the matter is, Lee Kuan Yew didn't even dare to call an election because he was wary of the possibility that Barisan would kick the PAP out. Look, if in 1961 the Barisan kicks the PAP out, in 1962, in the referendum for merger, the Barisan can now put option A, no, option B, no, option C, no. And then they get 70% and they say, no merger. Lee Kuan Yew thought the stakes were too high, right? So 1963, the fact that Lee Kuan Yew's PAP wins so many seats, I think it's 37. Go and find the number. I can't remember exactly. Right? Means that now they have full control of Singapore, which is something that was not guaranteed if you remember 1961. At the same time, you will ask yourself, how genuine is this if all of the opponents are locked up in prison thanks to Operation Coastal? It's a historical question we might never know the answer to. So we're in merger. Okay. So let me go on now to the lesson proper, which is Singapore in Malaysia. I've gone through the homework. Now Singapore is in Malaysia. We'll join Malaysia. Please highlight. But Malaysia would control our army and foreign relations. This is nothing new. The British were controlling our army and foreign relations, as you know. What happens is Malaysia takes over. That's all. And when we say Malaysia, you should be thinking the Tunku, or you should be thinking Kuala Lumpur. The Tunku is the Prime Minister of Malaysia. Kuala Lumpur is the capital. Now, with the formation of Malaysia, other countries are not happy. Specifically these two, Philippines and Indonesia. But we're going to focus on Indonesia. Because Philippines, what they do is they send a few commandos and they grumble. Indonesia goes ham and launches this confrontation that is called konfrontasi. It's just Malay for Bahasa Indonesia for confrontation. Okay? And konfrontasi matters because people are sending in helicopters, commandos, rallying villagers, and basically trying to make life very hard for each other. So konfrontasi, let's be clear, is actually a conflict between Malaysia and Indonesia. You will ask me where is Singapore? What's the answer? What's the answer? Who's that kid? Jensen? What's the answer for this? Where's Singapore? Jordan? The answer would be Singapore is in Malaysia, of course. Singapore is here because we have merged. So Singapore is here. Singapore's on Team Malaysia. Picture shows armed forces. What does this source tell you? Again, it's an inference question. This source tells me that confrontasi was what? Think about it. You could say, I guess, was violent and fiercely fought. This is because, go and explain. I will collect your worksheet at the end of all the lessons that I teach this worksheet for. So please fill in all the blanks. This is evident. And then, right, this is evidence. Describe the picture. Okay, my video is already 18 minutes. I want to move on quickly. So the fact is that other countries, right? Please note this part is the other countries not happy. Please make a note. This part is about other countries not happy. But not just other countries, Singapore also not happy. So why is Singapore not happy? I mean, Singapore asked for this, right? The Tunku was saying no, 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 and Lee Kuan Yew and PAP and Singapore was saying please, please, please. So why did Singapore become unhappy with the merger? Could be a essay question, right? 3 reasons: political reason, economic reason, social reason. So go and try it out from your textbook. Okay, actually, you know what? I just give you the answer now because should I? Yes, I should give you the answer. So political, UMNO and PAP went to fight each other's election. Before merger, they said we are not going to fight each other's election. UMNO stay in Malaya, PAP stay in Singapore. But after merger, UMNO come to Singapore and fight election. PAP go to Malaya and fight election. So they are not happy with each other. They feel like they betrayed each other. You're not trustworthy. How could you? Blah, 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 blah. And then not happy. Another reason to get into merger, right? Singapore wanted a common what? Common what? Common market. But then Malaysia, after you merge in, Malaysia said, wait up. let's think twice about it. So it's really this case where you marry into a marriage thinking that you are going to get this benefit, but after getting married and getting your certificate, your partner suddenly say, actually, better think twice. So Singapore is really not happy. Where's the common market? And then after that, they even said the tax. Tax is about collecting money to, I just write it out here, the notes. Tax is about collecting money from people to put into government. This is what tax means. In this case, it's about collecting money from Singapore to put into Malaysia. Okay? In this case. And Malaysia asked for money. They said not 40%, 60%. So Singapore is really, really not happy. You don't give me common market, but you can extend your hand to ask for more money. What's going on? How can this be allowed? Not happy. Not happy. Okay. So, as a result, Singaporeans felt that there were few economic benefits. Cause why? Cause no market, right? You can explain further. Because without a common market, there was no way to export Singapore's goods and increase our trade earnings, right? You can always explain further. Okay. Take notes, by the way. Explanation is important. Well, we were made to pay more tax, right? Which made what? So again, look at the question. Focus. Which made Singapore unhappy with the merger. And 2H6. Explanation must draw on the evidence and answer to the focus. At any point, you should feel free to pause this video and copy down on your worksheet. You can play faster also if I'm talking too slow for you. Okay, so this one, do by yourself. Do by yourself. I'll check when I collect. Okay, go to Racial Riots. So these three reasons made Singapore unhappy with the merger: political, economic, social. Actually, the social is quite important. Remember UMNO is the Malay party. UMNO is the one that said we want more special rights for the Malays in Malaya. They are the ones that say maybe don't bring Singapore in because too many Chinese. And when they make the link 2H6, when they came to contest in the 1963 elections in Singapore, they came down and they told the Malays in Singapore, look, you should get special rights too. Okay. So in 1964, they are coming back down. They're telling the Malay people in Singapore, you deserve special rights. And the Malay people in Singapore are all getting very excited. They're thinking, do we get special rights? Do we get special rights? And the PAP says, no, multiracial means equal rights for all races. Equal for Malay, equal for Chinese, equal for Indian. So imagine that 64 is this very tense moment, very tense, right? Malays are, some Malay people are agitating for special rights. Political leaders are fighting among themselves. What happens? It culminates in riots. So the 1964 racial riots, and by the way, when we celebrate Racial Harmony Day, we are commemorating the day of these riots, 21 July. In fact, these riots happened twice in 64, July and September. There are two riots in that year. And as you can see from the picture tells me that the race riots of 1964 were extremely severe. This was because, right, there were violent clashes between Malay and Chinese people. that led to mass injuries and even the death of, it's here in your notes, the 6 people. This is evident in the source, right? Which shows me or maybe you just talk a bit more about the police here as well. Or even the police were activated to maintain calm and stop the violence. Then you describe the source. This is evident in the source, which shows me what? The contingent of policemen here, the people in a violent commotion there. Describe the source. And having a sense of the riots, at this point, you should also be, or should also have watched. What should you have watched? Actually, you know what? I'll just play the video. Okay, this video. Go and watch this video. It's a 2-minute summary of the race riots in Singapore. I will send the link in your class chat if you can't find it. The video is called 1963 to 5, Tensions of Merger. And it will summarize the race riots.
Singapore would be a precious military, economic, and political asset to Malaysia.
All of us in the 5 territories of Malaysia have staked our lives and our future on it and succeed it must.
On 16 September 1963, Singapore merged with Malaya, Sabah, and Sarawak to form the new Federation of Malaysia. The ruling PAP had defeated the Barisan Sosialis to win the support of Singaporeans for merger, but the euphoria that followed merger was short-lived. When Singapore held its state elections soon after merger, the United Malay National Organisation, or UMNO, the Federation's ruling party, contested in it, but they lost to the PAP in all the Malay majority seats, stung by their defeat. Some UMNO leaders accused the PAP of oppressing Malays in Singapore. Then, in 1964, the PAP contested in the Malaysian general elections, fielding 9 candidates. Only one won. But the PAP rallies had attracted huge crowds in Peninsular Malaysia, with tens of thousands flocking to hear Lee. Tensions boiled over in July and September 1964 when race riots broke out in Singapore, resulting in a total of 46 deaths and hundreds more injured. The economic benefits of merger also turned out to be a mirage. Kuala Lumpur.
Okay, so what's important is the part here where it says UMNO leaders accused the PAP of oppressing Malays. The word oppressing means that you are putting people down, you are reducing their rights, and in a sense, you're almost bullying them. And this is the part, the emphasis on race, that is creating this tension that led to racial riots. Okay. So now you know in the narrative, right? UMNO leaders come down to tell Malay people in Singapore you are not being respected. The PAP leaders are saying racial equality. There's a difference in political opinions. And so, as a result, some tensions were stoked. In 1964, in July, during one of the celebrations of Prophet Muhammad's birthday, there's a procession of Malay people. Somewhere in Geylang Bahru, someone throws a bottle, unclear which race. But because of the bottle that's thrown, it sparked violent clashes, and that's how the race riots came about. So what is your task? Your task is to draw out the race riots. You can use your textbook. There are some pictures there. Or you can just read the descriptions here and then draw out the process. Okay, that's all for this lesson. This lesson covered pages 5 and 6, and your task now is to finish everything between pages 1 and 6. this lesson has been about race riots and why Singapore suddenly had a change of mind, change of heart about the merger after actually joining Malaysia. And it's quite interesting. The word Malaysia, right? We went from Malaya to Malaysia. This SI stands for Singapore, but actually Singapore is going to drop out in 1965. So how does that happen? What happens in Singapore when we drop out? That's the topic for the future lessons. Okay, any questions, text the class group chat. Thank you, 286.